You're listening to the TV Obsessive channel, presented by TVObscast.com. Okay, welcome back to the TV Obsessive podcast, here today for episode 112. As always, my name is Cameron Crane, the executive editor for TVObsessive.com. I'm joined by Ryan Kirksey, writer and contributor for the site. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing pretty well. Just returned from a week away, and most of that week was spent outside in the Texas heat. So I'm a lot like Murderbot this weekend. Just leave me alone. Let me catch up on my shows because I didn't get to anything this week.
Yeah, air conditioning. What?
That's right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so regular listeners will note here we are recording a couple days late because, as Ryan mentioned, he was vacationing, I suppose is the right word. So it's July 13th here, recording on Sunday. Should get this out this evening. Going to talk about the Murderbot season finale, which I'm really looking forward to. I thought it was a really good episode. We did get the news the other day that Murderbot has been renewed for season two, which again makes our conversation a little bit different than it would have been if we hadn't gotten that news.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was great. Right. It was I've been writing on the show also for TVObsessive.com. And they decided to announce that the series was renewed for season two the day before the season finale aired, right?
Yeah.
So I had to go adjust the end of my article after because
Well,
I had some stuff in there speculating about or just addressing it in light of we don't know if there's going to be a season two, and then oh well, we actually do know, so okay, but we got that going for us. Looking forward to it, and yeah, looking forward to talking with you about the season finale here in the latter part of the pod, with spoilers on the table and all of that. First, as per usual, though, we'll talk about what's been in the news, what we've been watching. Um, you were out in the woods. Is it woods?
yeah, I was at a camp with my son, no access to really anything other than well, no, not really anything at all. So I had no TV, had no real internet to speak up, some spotty cell service. So yeah, if it's been going on TV this week, I'm sort of out of it. So I'm looking forward to getting caught up.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, imagine in this day and age, a lot of it depends on what kind of signal you're getting, because I can well imagine any number of people camping and like streaming video on their phone.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I mean, that's great to get out there a bit. I've got a couple of things. Season three of Foundation premiered on Friday. I'm a fan of the show in general, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's getting better, or I'm vibing with it more, or it's getting more entertaining, or I don't know. It's really interesting because I don't think this is really a spoiler. There are like massive time jumps in between the seasons, if you don't know, right? But through like three different conceits, you manage to have characters that are in all the seasons. No, it's like four or five different conceits, right? Like they're not all carrying over in the same way, right? It's like, well, what you like one of them's a robot, okay. Another one's like doing cryo sleep stuff, okay. And then I guess the characters that are in the show that aren't in the books, I guess, are the like Cleonic dynasty. So they're not technically the same people, but they're the same actors.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Because it's like they've got this setup where they clone the same person to remain the leader of the empire or whatever. Apologies if anyone feels this is too spoilery. This is all like setup of the show kind of stuff. But through these various conceits, they managed to like keep Lee Pace around and they keep Jared Harris around in a different way, actually, and so on and so forth. And
So
so
this
anyway,
is the anti House of the Dragon strategy, where they had a 20-year time jump and kept some actors the same, and some of them they aged up, and some of them were new, and it was sort of you had to spend the whole half a season catching up on who was who.
yeah, well, it's kind of interesting with Foundation because it's like, okay, well, you've got this central set of characters, or actors. But then in each season, there are other people who are really significant to that season,
Yeah.
but then they're gone. It's been 150 years since they were alive. You know what I mean? Like, so it's kind of a weird setup, but I have been enjoying it, and I think they're already working on season four, so that's good. we talked on the podcast before about this. There were some shakeups behind the scenes, and I don't like have any tea to spill or anything like that. I don't know exactly what happened, but where David S. Goyer sort of stepped away as showrunner, and then I forget who is the new showrunner off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. One worry about that is when Foundation started, I believe it was David S. Goyer saying, "I've got a plan for 8 seasons." So, like, is that plan still in place?
Yeah.
Are we going to get 8 seasons? Is Apple TV Plus really committed to this? Is the show successful? Like, I don't know. I know it has fans, you know what I mean? But so we'll see. But I think at least we're going to get season 4, which is good, and hopefully we ultimately get the whole thing because it is pretty entertaining, and you should watch it.
Yeah, yeah. I've, as you know, been a fan of all of the sci-fi that Apple TV Plus has done and that we've covered. So yeah, this is going to have to go on the list.
Yeah. I mean, I've written on Invasion. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of Invasion. You ever watch
Oh, that's
Invasion?
true. Yeah, no, I'm not. I've not caught that one. I know you've been up and down on that.
It's okay. Right. Like, I will watch it. I will keep watching it. The other thing, just to mention briefly, we got the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia half of the crossover with Abbott Elementary. So I did pop in on that. I'm way behind on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I mean, I can't, but the show says, I forget now. This was like, I think the season premiere of like season 17 or whatever of
Yeah.
this show, which I can't believe it's been on that long. It's one of those where I remember when it came out and I got into it and I was watching it regularly, and then I just kind of fell off. I'm not sure how many seasons I am behind, but it also doesn't really matter in a way. It's like
Yeah.
being behind on seasons of The Simpsons or something.
Yeah.
It was kind of interesting, I will say, without getting too spoilery again. In many ways, I felt like this felt like another episode of Abbott Elementary more than an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
I know that they tried to, well, I don't know what the right word is, but make it ABC appropriate when they did the crossover on the Abbott Elementary side. But I don't know that they would have to do that on necessarily on
no,
Hulu.
no, they didn't do that. It's a structural thing.
Okay.
The conceit of how it's like they're filming a documentary or whatever, which of course
Yeah.
any number of sitcoms have deployed over the years at this point. But
Right.
It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is not one of them. So the show was basically presented through that Abbott lens, I
I
guess.
see. I see. Okay.
Um, where it's based. Sorry if this feels like a spoiler, but it's kind of based on like, oh, there was this other footage from when they came to the school,
I see. Okay.
like this like secret footage or whatever. So it is no, it definitely it's feels like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in many ways in terms of the tone,
Hmm.
and there's certainly some language, and there are some reasons that younger Abbott Elementary fans are being discouraged from watching it. They're going to watch it.
Yeah, of course.
Uh,
Of course.
they're going to watch it. So I mean, it was okay. It was all things considered entertaining, but yeah, it did feel kind of weird because the form of it felt in many ways more like Abbott Elementary, if you follow me. But
I,
yeah,
I did see Rob McElhenney come out this week and say he thinks start to finish, this is the best season of It's Always Sunny that they've done. Now, as he said that at the beginning of every season, I don't know, but take that for what it's worth. He thinks this season is worth checking out.
he probably has not said that actually. I should catch up. I always feel like it's one of those shows which I know that you haven't done this because we talked about it before, but maybe you've had a somewhat similar experience with Curb Your Enthusiasm. Like, do you ever binge Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Hmm.
So, with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, my experience has also been to binge the season,
Yeah.
and the characters on the show are horrible people, right?
Yeah, right.
And a lot of the humor of the show comes from them engaging in like bad reasoning and post hoc rationalizing, and so it's like I'll binge a season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and feel like I'm temporarily a worse person for
Yeah.
having done so. um which I don't know if you had the experience at all with Curb, because it's not exactly the same, but that was the experience that I had with Curb.
Yeah,
Often was like the more I binged it, the more I started thinking like, Larry David's right, and
right.
the
I
bad
think
is,
I think I binged the first to catch up. I binged the first 9 seasons of Curb. Yeah, I think at one point my wife would come in and out. She's like, what is wrong with you? Like, well, how much of this are you going to absorb? So yeah, I get it.
yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of Larry David, we got a segue here actually. The news came out. I don't know if you saw this. So Larry David's teaming up with the Obamas to make some kind of U.S. history HBO sketch series. Thoughts?
Yeah, I will tell you my first thought when I saw this, which is this is a sketch series with the Obamas to celebrate the history of the United States for its 250th anniversary. And I wondered how much of this, because I've been reading all these things about all of these grand plans that Donald Trump has for the 250th anniversary of America. Was this just in direct opposition of we're just going to do something counter programming or countercultural to what he is doing because his plans are so off the wall ridiculous. And then my second thought was, I don't know if you ever watched Drunk History. I wondered how
Yeah.
much of this is gonna it sound a lot like that a little bit.
So, yeah, that was kind of like the first thing I thought it was drunk history.
Yeah,
But I doubt it's going to be like that, and then
right.
what else? History of the world or something. And I don't know.
Yeah,
But if it's Larry David, I wouldn't expect either of those tones. But if
no.
it's the Obamas, I wouldn't exactly expect a Curb Your Enthusiasm kind of tone.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
put
know.
out, sort of competing little quippy press releases about this thing. Obama said that dealing with the world's most difficult leaders, but nothing prepared him for working with Larry David. So yeah, I just wonder what kind of tone this is going to take. But yeah, I don't think people out there should expect a Curb Your Enthusiasm style look at the United States history. That's probably not it.
No, that's probably not it. And I'm curious, and I feel like I might have to check it out when it comes around. But somewhat circling back to your first point, I don't know if it's going to feel right. You know what I mean? Like, what is the tone going to be like? And is it just going to feel weirdly inappropriate for our times
Yeah,
somehow?
yeah,
Because the other possibility that it would be like having a critical edge, contra the Trump administration. I just don't think they would do that.
yeah.
So
And I also don't think, I think, okay, if this is a Larry David project, would he go and look at some of the worst people or worst scenarios in our country and figure out some way to put that in sketch form? But then I don't think the Obamas would get involved in something like that. So it's like I just don't really
yeah.
know where they're going to head with it.
Then where does the humor come from?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like the humor in drunk history largely comes from the fact that the person relaying the account is, you know,
Yeah.
wasted, drunk,
Yeah.
and then the lip syncing and all of that. And are they still making that? I think maybe they stopped making that. Um,
I think it's stopped, but that is a must watch if you've never seen Drunk History.
yeah, agreed. And it's also educational, right? Like some of the stuff
Yes.
I learned some things from drunk history that I did not know about history. Scrubs is coming back. We've mentioned Scrubs coming back before, but that's now official, and we've got the core cast officially on board. I think no word about the others. I don't know. What do you want to say about Scrubs?
Yeah, I grabbed this because I've started watching the original Scrubs. I think I'm in season 2 at this point, and yeah, there have been rumors, there have been discussions, there have been plots and schemes, but we now have an official ABC order of Scrubs, bringing back Zach Braff, Donald Faison, and Sarah Chalk. As you said, not mentioned really of the other original characters and what will happen, but this is, am I correct in saying this is for the upcoming TV season? Yeah, this is coming in the 25-26 season. So it's only been off for about 15 years, and yet here we are with a reboot of the same show.
Yeah, and I've watched Scrubs on and off over the years. Again, I know we've talked about this on the podcast before because there were at least rumors that this was going to happen.
Right.
So I also made a note of this, but you already had it on our sheet. So definitely worth hitting on. Um, anyway, the fact that I've said it before doesn't really matter, I guess. I do feel like of all the reboots, Scrubs kind of feels more appropriate for a reboot than a lot of shows, like all right, yeah, hospitals still exist. They're still working at the hospital. They're older now, All right, reboot Scrubs. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
hopefully it's good.
I do wonder if this will be our three main characters are now the seniors, doctors, and they're going to have a new crop of young med students or first years come in. That's sounds like a reasonable plot to me.
Yeah, that's kind of what I imagine,
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And yeah. On a negative note, Duster was canceled. We talked about Duster on the podcast before too. I never got around to watching it. Did you, Ryan?
Never watched an episode. Got decent reviews, but just
Yeah.
never caught on. I guess the J.J.
Yeah.
Abrams of it all doesn't really grab people anymore. So no, I never saw an episode.
Yeah, I don't know. When it got canceled the other day, I saw a whole bunch of people on Blue Sky who were upset. I follow a lot of TV critics and things like this, so I think that it was critically acclaimed. It definitely did have a fan base, people who really enjoyed it and
Yeah.
thought it was fun. And it's like, it's like I feel like I should personally apologize for the fact that I didn't watch it. This
Yeah,
is
I
like
know.
we talked about it. We said we were going to watch it. We didn't watch it.
Yeah.
It's not like we're personally responsible for it being canceled, but uh,
We did our job trying to get people to watch it, and yet, we didn't, but that's
we
okay.
didn't
Sorry.
click the buttons and we
No.
didn't actually stream it. So I think at least unfortunately perhaps contributed to the cancellation
Yeah.
in a very small way because we're only two individual people. We did talk about it on the podcast, right? So
That's
maybe
exactly right. We got
balances
promoted through
out,
promotion.
right? Well, that balances
Exactly.
out. We're just gonna like assume that because we talked about it, at least two people watched it,
There you go.
and that it's a wash. That it's a wash. But I might still watch it. I mean, I've seen various people say, "Hey, it's still worth watching." The season, wraps up relatively well. You
Yeah.
know, there's some stuff that's kind of like setting up where it would go from there, but
Yeah.
not
I
not
mean,
a huge deal.
for nothing else, I just kept seeing people talk about the aesthetic, the wardrobe, the vibe, just sort of the cinematography of this and this 1970s sort of spy thriller type show. So, I mean, for nothing else, it may just be something cool to watch.
Yeah, it does suck for the people involved. I mean, reading about the cancellation, I think one note in there that caught my eye reminded me that this show had been in the works for like
Mm.
3 or 4 years or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And so you just imagine that like J.J. Abrams and Josh Holloway kind of have this thing going for years that they're excited about, and
Yeah.
then sorry.
Yeah. Goodbye.
So maybe Josh Holloway will get some more work now. I don't know. Feel like I haven't seen him on my TV screen a lot since Lost. I know he's done a couple of things, but not as much as I would have guessed, given the extent to which his performance in Lost really stands out. You know,
Exactly. Yeah, he was, yes. I mean, such an iconic character. I know he's done a few things here and there, a couple of Mission Impossible appearances, this show, but just not, yeah, not what you thought. I mean, he didn't have sort of the tumultuous personal life like Matthew Fox did. There was a reason why he
mm,
sort of fell off the map. But Josh Holloway, no, just hasn't caught on anywhere.
maybe it's almost a problem that everyone sees him and goes Sawyer.
Hmm.
Um, and in some ways, in Duster, it did kind of seem like he was playing a
Yeah,
Sawyer
exactly.
type. So
Exactly.
that's why I mean, so yeah, I may have to still check out Duster at some point. It did look fun. Slow Horses been renewed again some more for season 7 now. Through seasons, I don't think that they're nearly that close to season 7. How many
No.
seasons exist? Five, maybe?
The fifth season has not aired yet, and now we have
Okay.
a seventh season renewal. I'm working my way through season four at this point. Yeah, it looks like we're going to get fifth season a few months from now. They already, I think, maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, renewed for season six, and they just, I mean, this thing just must keep doing numbers because in between seasons, they're now even going for a seventh season before number five comes out. So yeah, a lot of a lot of slow horses, and Gary Oldman is as a slobbery, washed up British spy coming our way.
Yeah, I'm all for it. This is another one that's on my list. I still need to catch up on it. And it's weird. I guess it just doesn't, something about it doesn't make me feel compelled to keep going.
Yeah.
After I watch an episode, I'll watch an episode and think like, oh, that was good, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like that compulsion to say, okay, now I need to watch the next one right away or something like that. But at the same time, the seasons are only like 6 episodes long, so I
Yeah.
could catch up pretty
That's
quickly if I set my mind to it.
Yeah, that's the biggest endorsement. If you want to catch up to this show, especially ahead of season 5 coming, yeah, I think the first three seasons are 6 episodes each, so it's pretty fast if you want to commit to it.
Yeah, so maybe I'll have to do that. Maybe before the next season comes out. We'll see. We'll see. Again, I wrote an article for TV Obsessive on the very first episodes of Slow Horses, and thought it was good, and then
Yeah.
just fell off, and haven't kept up with it. But do recommend it to people if they haven't checked it out. If you're into kind of British humor spy show, basically, you know. Also coming really soon in August is the King of the Hill reboot, which I'm looking forward to. So it's kind of weird to me that this news is something that would be breaking, 3 weeks before the show comes out. But anyhow, I guess they have cast Ronnie Chang, you may well know from The Daily Show, to voice Khan in the reboot. And I thought this was worth noting. Like, so presumably they did this a while ago. Like, I'm guessing they already made stuff, although who knows? I don't know, I guess for sure. Um, but I was kind of looking into it a little further because I saw they cast him as Khan, and so wondered, okay, well, who voiced Khan in the original run? And that's Toby Huss. And so then I said, well, did what happened to Toby Huss? He's still around. He's going to voice Dale, actually, which I missed that news item in May, I guess it was. And Toby Huss also voiced some other characters on the show in the past. I think he voiced Cotton Hill or some other people as well. So it really does seem like this is one of those things where what they're saying is we shouldn't have a white guy voice the Asian character.
Yeah. There's I
Which
mean,
I
I'm sure,
respect.
yeah, which I do too. I mean, a lot of this goes back to the gosh, this must have been more than 10 years ago now, the decision about Apu on The Simpsons
Yeah.
and that whole decision of who voiced him and that controversy. I think this is just more of an awareness of having someone like Ronnie Chang play this character. I think this says that he is a Laotian neighbor, so someone from Laos. So to have an Asian American play this character. Yeah, certainly respect, and I love Ronnie Chang, especially love his stand up. So yeah, happy to see him latched on here.
Yeah, same. And I think it should work well. I can
Yeah.
imagine Ronnie Chang um, doing Khan's voice, no problem. But I just thought all of that was interesting. And then also that, again, I had somehow missed the news item about um, Toby Huss now voicing Dale because,
Hmm.
Of course, Johnny Hardwick died. So um, it had
Yeah,
been a question in my mind what they were going to do with Dale. So,
and to your point, it seems like Hardwick, from one of these articles we have here, recorded 6 episodes of this reboot before he died in 2023.
yeah.
So there must have been something. So maybe there was a pause after that in terms of trying to figure out who would do what. But if they were recording episodes that long ago, surely the Ronnie Chang thing has been in the works for quite some time. It is, to your point, odd that it would come out just 2 or 3 weeks before this show premieres.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean, like, I don't know, like maybe Khan isn't in the early episodes and then he's
Yeah.
only in later episodes, and maybe they're only getting around. Sometimes it's surprising what these production schedules actually look like in terms of how close they cut it on some things. So, I mean, I guess it's possible that they're only now getting to the point where Khan's going to be in it and they made this decision. So, regardless, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, it's good. I imagine it will be. Um, I was also glad to get this nugget of information about Dale because I knew Johnny Hardwick had died. And I think I also knew, as you said, that he'd recorded some stuff before he died. So I just didn't know what they were going to do with Dale. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, um, is Dale going to die? I don't want Dale to die. I want Dale to
No,
be in the show, right? So,
exactly.
yeah. So I guess now Toby Huss is going to do that. Toby Huss, by the way, is one of these guys where if you put him into Google and his face pops up, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy."
Yeah, that's right. You've seen him
Totally.
before, but you certainly know his voice more than his what he does probably.
Yeah, yeah. Um, all right, well, let's talk about Murderbot.
Yeah.
We're up to the season one finale, season one, episode 10, titled The Perimeter. So, supposedly on the table here for everything in season one of Murderbot, nothing from the books, which we haven't read. We'll put in a little bit of music here and be back with you in just about 10 seconds.
Okay, we're here to talk about Murderbot, episode 10, the season one finale on Apple TV Plus. This episode titled The Perimeter, written by Chris Weitz and Paul Weitz and directed by Paul Weitz. Following up on episode 9, the Prezox team has been rescued as this episode opens with Sec Unit's memory being erased and a new governor module installed while they're all back at the Corporation Rim. The Prezox team negotiates to try to acquire the Sec Unit. They offer to buy it. They also threaten a lawsuit, but the company still refuses. The team decides to take action, including Finn Lee, who wants to file an injunction to seize the Murderbot. Garathan is able to go to an old colleague to locate and download data from the memory wipe. He locates Murderbot's files by searching for Sanctuary Moon episodes. The team saves Murderbot right before going into an acid bath, and Garathan uploads his personality back into its database. Murderbot is then invited to live with the Prezox team on their planet, but at night, Murderbot attempts to sneak away before he's found by Graffin, who does try to make it feel welcome. Murderbot insists that it just needs to check the perimeter. When Graffin lets him go, Murderbot thanks him and decides to leave. Posing as a servant bot, it boards a transport ship, stating it doesn't know what it wants to do, just that it doesn't want anyone telling it what it should do. Interesting, in that, as we can now put in context of season two, we talked about this a week ago. Does this set up that we get this same cast in a season two, which will be coming at some point down the road? I don't know because Murderbot has left this group, and I guess that remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the big question. And I suppose it's something that some people in the world have more of an answer to than we do because
Hmm.
they've read the books, right?
Hmm.
But simply knowing that it is based on books, it's very easy to imagine that in the second book, Murderbot, goes off on some other kind of adventure with completely different. Given that it's a TV show, you would imagine that they want to bring back the cast of the TV show. So I don't know, really curious about it. I can't quite decide if I want to know
Yeah.
in book terms. But even if we did know in book terms, whether the next story involves the Preservation Alliance, if it doesn't, it still might in the TV show. So we just really don't know. But by the end of it, I really came to appreciate all of these hippies. And so I want to see them again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I appreciated especially this last conversation between Murderbot and Garathan, just some of the mutual respect, some of the understanding of Garathan understanding what Murderbot wants to do, what it's trying to achieve, which is basically just find out who it is. And, while there may have been some, who are these people? What are they actually doing? Do we care about them at the beginning? To your point, I think this grew into a group that I would be sad to not see them again if they don't appear in season two.
Yeah, and where do things stand with the throuple? I mean,
Right.
they were going to
Right.
break up probably, but they were going to talk about it later once they weren't in danger anymore.
Yeah.
I'm curious, right? And Garathan, yeah, I mean, to talk about that scene, we're kind of starting at the end here, but I guess that's
Yeah.
fair enough. Well, that was a really good scene, and his character seemed, I don't know, sort of softer and more sympathetic there
Mm.
than he had before, but it fit, it flowed with the character. It made sense. And you can start thinking, okay, well, he was behaving the way that he was throughout the season, largely because of the stress and tension of the situation, his underlying distrust of the corporation, and so on and so forth, right? But now here, he's trying to tell Murderbot, hey, like, I know these people are really kind of weird. I know there's like woo woo hippie stuff, but they're really good people. It's going to go well. I'll help you, and so on. And right, it really warrants. I mean, the fact that they gave us more backstory on Garathan then is kind of important to have that
Yeah, I
in the
did
story.
wonder, because you said the backstory of Graffin, is there, maybe I missed this throughout the season, is there a connection between Garathan, who he has been previously, his relationship with the corporation, and what looks like addictions he has had and things he's had to overcome? Is it something that the corporation led him to that? He's now sort of used that as a way to help get this memory data download back for Murderbot, but it sounds like he had to draw on something where there's a history between Corporation Rim and what his past was that led him to this.
Yeah, you recall, I forget what episode it is, and I have to look up what number, but well, there's the flashback scene where they're playing that sweet bitter game.
Mhm.
And that's Garathan's story, right? That he used to work for the corporation. They had addicted him to these drugs to keep him
That's
under
right.
control or whatever. He was like a spy for them. He was spying on Mensa. I don't remember more details before we even got more details, but that then in meeting Mensa, she won him over and helped break him away from corporate control. And that's when he joined the Preservation Alliance and all of that. And it feeds into this episode too, when um, he goes to his old drug dealer who now works in data security to get access and to the computer console and all of that.
Yeah. So there was a sense of certainly parallels and why we get this almost empathetic moment where Grafton relates to Murderbot in a sense of being under this control, trying to break free from that, not knowing what to do, being accepted by a group of people. And then essentially Grafton saying, this is a good group, but if you want to do your own thing, you should be free to go do that.
Yeah, and I think that's the important point, the big important thematic thing to talk about, right? With that ending, which I thought was really good and evokes emotion and all of that. And I don't know if you teared up at all, but maybe I did. But that, to think about Murderbot's arc, at the beginning of the season, it's hacked its governor module. So it's kind of like technically free,
Yeah,
but not really because it's still caught up in all of these structures, like if the corporation finds out that its governor module is hacked, then they're going to put it back or maybe put him in that acid bath or something like that. Um, Same if he steals a spaceship, right? They're going to catch him. They're going to put him in the acid bath. Sorry, it. So that it decides, okay, well, I'm just going to keep doing my job and pretending. And then over here, I'm going to watch Sanctuary Moon, you know, and then gets caught up in this whole thing with the Preservation Alliance people and is still meaningfully not free, right? Like there's technical free will or autonomy, but not real freedom. And so here, the way that this all plays out, of course, they're a group of people who don't believe in the whole sec unit stuff, and will view the sec units as slaves. They don't agree with using these bots that have biological elements also, and so on and so forth, right? But in order to make this work, they have to buy Murderbot.
right.
And then the idea is that Murderbot will come back to their planet with them, right? And they mention as like, I'm gonna be your guardian or whatever, and um you can do whatever you want to learn to do. I believe that you can do that and all of that, right? But I think there's still a meaningful way in which Murderbot leaving is a simple assertion of of that freedom. right? Like
Right.
Murderbot's only really free because it is able to leave, and Mensa lets it leave, and so on.
I completely agree with that, and that was my same assessment that there's not true, while it may not have a governor module again, and while it is free to go with this group, there's not true freedom until it believes that actually there could be more for me or better for me if I'm not with this group, and it choosing to say, despite this group saying I will be happy with them, I actually have the freedom to go and I make that choice to go. Using that sense of agency where otherwise it would have been Murderbot believing, trusting that my most happy, satisfied self would be with this group, but it doesn't know that until it makes the decision to leave. And so I think that's was really the most satisfying way to do that.
Yeah, and I think the closing lines there are powerful, right? That I don't know what I want, but I know that I don't want anyone telling me what I want or deciding for me, even if it is my favorite human.
My favorite humans. Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
not. It did feel like at one point to hit on there is that I forget I put it some way like this in the article that I wrote, which people can go read on TVObscast.com if you're interested. Um, but it feels like the voiceover narration at some point becomes a message he sends to Mensa. I don't know if we can identify what point it is, but is that how it played, you think? Is that how you read it?
I did think that. I actually thought that at points throughout the season, almost that did Murderbot is it retelling the story so that it could send to them, let them have so they can preserve that relationship that they built or what they built with this sec units. Yeah, it became more of just a inner monologue instead still becoming a sense of this is who we are and what we shared together. Yeah, I certainly saw that. I saw it a little bit throughout the season, but certainly in this episode.
Oh, that's interesting. You just made me think about the possibility that Murderbot sent the inner monologue from the whole season, right?
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
I think the books are called the Murderbot Diaries, so
That's right. That's
um,
right.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you can rule that. I didn't quite think that though. But at the end, it says something like Murderbot end message. So at least that kind of keyed me into the idea that at
Correct.
least part of that was a message that it sent. So it didn't just leave. I mean, it did just leave in the middle of the night. Um, and Garathan lets Murderbot leave, you know.
Right.
I think that I enjoyed that part of that scene also, where it becomes clear that when Murderbot's saying, I need to check the perimeter, particularly the second time, that it's saying I'm leaving, you know.
Yeah.
And
And
so
giving that permission, knowing that there is no need, there is no requirement, there is no desire from the group for sec units to need to check the perimeter here, and just a this is this is what I'm known to do, and this is the way that I can. This is the I don't know if it's an excuse, but this is the method by which I can sort of use it to make my escape. And Greth sort of giving the permission that yeah, you can check the perimeter. Will be just fine because otherwise we will have gone against everything that we have said from the very beginning, which is we don't believe that these should be under any sort of control.
yeah, basically, right. So when Mensa realizes she cries and all that, again, I mean, I thought it was all really good. Also worth noting here is that when Murderbot is now on the transport, um, sits down, which I don't know if you recall earlier in the season, like why do these human beings always want to sit down?
Right.
So for whatever that's worth, but doesn't seem as caught up in watching the TV shows, right? So like I don't know how upset I am that we didn't get the resolution of the Sanctuary Moon cliffhanger. No, but not terribly upset. I mean, like I kind of wanted to know how that worked out. But Murderbot never returns that episode. But so there, I don't think that means in further seasons, Murderbot will never watch TV again or something. But it does seem like a significant movement in terms of character development. That by the end of the season, it's not the case that Murderbot just wants to be left alone to watch TV. Murderbot doesn't know what it wants, but it sort of like wants to find out.
Right. It has had that level of autonomy or freedom. It has now shared that. I think he said he's surprised or maybe pleasantly surprised at how much other units or other, I forget what he says, will accept and appreciate this, this entertainment that I'm passing on to them. I think he says that as he jumps on he pings the
Yeah,
the servant bot transport and shares that with them. So he's sort of achieved that level, and now he's going to go find the next level of freedom that goes beyond just his Sanctuary Moon episodes. And respect for, being upset and being a completionist and understanding he didn't have a good 100 episodes there when his memory was restored. Just I respect that and understand that disappointment.
yeah, that was amusing. Also amusing, how Garathan finds Murderbot's memory by searching for Sanctuary Moon.
Yeah.
Um, Probably some other stuff we should talk about, kind of working backwards. In terms of the corporation, what we learned about them. Thoughts on that front?
What we learned about the corporation in general, or about just what their mission is. Yeah, it just seemed, hmm. They seem. I think one of the things I mentioned was how much there was this sort of comparison between how so little they care about, it seems like anything other than their mission, their bottom line, what they're trying to achieve. And the sec units sort of become an emblem of that or symbol of that, as opposed to say there's actually good work and good harmony, good I think some real sense of good and belonging with this group that the corporation just doesn't care about. Right? That's completely off their radar.
Hmm.
And so it's just a sort of a strong juxtaposition to look at those two things and how it's odd to say it this way, but disrespectful those two workers at the beginning were with the sec unit, how flippant the, I guess, corporation executives are about the opportunity for the Pres Ops team to get that unit back, but then how much the other team wants it, respects it, needs sec unit to be a part of them because it's now it's now in their community, and the corporation just that doesn't compute with them.
Right. I mean, I think it's almost overblown, but like maybe not. Yeah, I mean, thinking about the corporation who's kind of like ruling this world, and we don't know a lot of details, right? But it's pretty clear that they are just I don't know, kind of hardcore capitalists who definitely view sec units like Murderbot as pieces of equipment
Yeah.
with no rights whatsoever, right? It would be categorized in the same way as a tent, or
Yeah,
at
exactly.
least it's more like a tent than a human being. But then also we see how they treat human beings, which is not great. It's very exploitative, right?
That's right.
It would seem that people are generally indentured servants. At least we got that nugget in there. In this episode, we see workers protesting, right?
Yes.
We don't get a lot of details about exactly what's going on there. But we do get the response of showing up with sec units to beat them up and I don't know, maybe kill them? Question mark.
The
Um,
orders seem to be do some damage, and yeah, we don't have a lot of background about this conflict other than someone saying you will not eat if you do not work. So sort of these basic fundamental things they're withholding from them because I guess they're not willing or living up to their indentured servitude agreements or whatever it is that they have with them. So just some basic rights being withheld from these humans. So yeah, Corporation Rim not looking great after this episode.
no, but well, yeah, okay. I mean, it never has, right? Really. Um, During that scene, Murderbot has the flashback again, and at least I read it as implied that the previous time that when it's flashing back to killing those 57 miners or whatever, that was also an instance like this, that it was being ordered to attack workers who were disobeying or something like that. Did you take that implication as well? Because it was really kind
Yeah,
of subtle.
that's exactly how I read it. That somehow, despite I think we have to assume multiple memory wipes now, that thing is still ingrained inside of it, and it is continues to reemerge, especially when it's being asked to do something again. It's being asked to put down a conflict or put down a riot of some kind, and it can't help but emerge this thought or this memory that is stuck in there, despite it being wiped from it a couple times.
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, you'd imagine that there's some level at which sec units aren't supposed to do that,
Hmm.
you know? And so they ordered the sec unit to do that and then wiped its memory and such, but it's lodged in there, you know? Um, it's another thing that plays at that level of this question about Murderbot's personhood, or however we might put that exactly, right? Because I'd be tempted to say it's kind of like lodged in there as a trauma,
Absolutely,
you
absolutely.
know?
I think your point is a great one about these sec units are seemingly designed for security, for defense, for respond when there's a threat, not attack because we're ordered to attack and we don't know the reason, we don't understand the rationale, we don't understand why we're doing it. And that seems to be in both of these cases. We don't have the background necessarily of the first one, but certainly with this uprising in this finale, they're just told to attack by a supervisor and not ask questions, just harm these people.
Yeah. A question related to that, though, I wonder about is whether Murderbot is quote unquote defective. You know, is this a result of that poor quality control,
Hmm.
or what have you, in terms of the biological elements involved in its brain? I guess
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
it would come down to, right? Um, in other words, what I'm wondering is, with regard to the other sec units, are they meaningfully different from Murderbot in this sort of way? You follow me there?
Yeah. Um, Boy, that raises some interesting questions. I don't know that I've sort of gone down that road yet, but I understand the question you're asking. Yeah, I don't know.
Something to think about, I think,
Yeah.
because one possibility is that all of these bots are, just like Murderbot, but
Mm.
being effectively controlled. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Their governor module's working, but if you were to take out that governor module, then they would be meaningfully like Murderbot, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas another possibility is that that's somehow not the case, or how to put this, that there's something about Murderbot that led to the possibility of attacking its own governor module that is distinctive in relation to all of the other sec units,
Yeah.
that
That
there's
would be an
something
interesting.
different about this one. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thread to pull of whether it's, as you said, sort of defective oversight or failure of something in the process where they put these things together, oversee how they're done. Um, is that what made Murderbot what it is, or is it have to do with this trauma, right? This thing that it was forced to do against its quote unquote will that is now lodged in there and makes it want to break free from having to do that again.
Yeah, I suppose that's a possibility too. I mean, in part, it's a matter of, okay, well, if we're going to speculate a little bit about where the story might go, right? What are the possibilities for at some point down the line, sec unit rebellion, kind of
Right.
storyline? And
Yeah.
that's there, at least to some degree, and so I do think it relates to the kind of question I was asking, so it's worth thinking about. Any other thoughts, speculations about what might happen in season two?
Yeah, I've really been thinking about this since watching this finale. I and whether I would want Murderbot's journey to be find another group of humans that it can build a relationship with and respect as much as it did for the first group. I don't think that's what I want. Um, it's perhaps hard to see at the end of this episode how that might happen because it's literally leaving the other group behind. Um, but I guess I hope that they find a way to get these. this sec unit and this group back together again. It could be as simple as the sec unit went to go on a servant transport to do some sort of work on a planet, and that just happens to be where this group is sent next, and they reunite there. But I think I want to find a way for this group to get back together.
Yeah, and then I mean, I can imagine a couple of possibilities that would make sense narratively. One would be what? Let's okay. Murderbot goes off on its own and has some adventures and then learns that the Preservation Alliance is in trouble and so goes to help.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
Flip that around. Murderbot goes off and has some adventures and gets in trouble and needs preservation to come help.
yeah,
You know, so there are other possibilities, but those are just two kind of straightforward ones. And of course, another would just simply be like, okay, Murderbot goes off and does whatever, and then ultimately decides, oh, you know what? Actually, I do want to go be with the Preservation Alliance people. That sounds
yeah.
good, or something. And then somehow it goes from there. One thing I do think is really worth noting that we haven't fully mentioned yet is that Murderbot's leaving without its armor.
Correct.
So that puts it in a different kind of spot than it would be in otherwise, right? It's kind of like a defenseless robot at this point.
It really is, and I think that has to be a major component of at least the beginning of a second season is Murderbot trying to find a way to fit in as this augmented human that he keeps talking about, trying to find a way to fit in a place that it's been not rejected, but not certainly been not been a part of, or not been able to find a way to assimilate with that type of group. So there's going to be certainly some learning curves, some bumps along the way. I think that might be an interesting part of the beginning of season two.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of interesting ways that this could go. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad it's been renewed. The books are out there tempting me to read them, but I don't know if I'm going to because I don't know, I'm more of a TV guy. I don't want to spoil the
Yeah.
TV show by reading books.
Yes.
Um,
John Cho, Clark Gregg, Jack McBrayer, DeWanda Wise, all come back, please, and give us some more Sanctuary Moon. We do need that.
yeah, we need to, more of the show within the show. Um, Looking at our show sheet, there's one thing on it we haven't really hit on your side, but we should have done it before. Anything you want to say here in terms of what happens between episode 9 and episode 10?
I think we're just meant to piece together as we pick up in episode 10 that Murderbot is on the table, about to get his memory wiped. The team is sitting in front of the Corporation Rim executives that their plan worked. The beacon
Yeah.
launched, they were able to locate where they were. Uh, Certainly Mensa and Murderbot did not perish when they fell off the cliff, and Murderbot saved her life. They were rescued, and some point in the near future, this is what has transpired. So I don't know if there's any more detail to add to that, but I think it's sort of meant to put those pieces together as we pick up in episode 10.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that kind of stands out for me a little bit, one question I had after episode 9 was who would fix Murderbot and whether Garathan could do it or what have you. And it seems
Yeah.
like the answer is no, Garathan couldn't do it. They couldn't fix Murderbot back at their habitat on the planet, um, or didn't have time or whatever. But that it came down to the emergency beacon working, the corporation coming. So then I'm imagining Murderbot's fully unconscious and everything dead, quote unquote, even up until that point when they reboot it on the table and you have the as you say, rather disrespectful lab
Yeah.
technicians.
Yeah. I won't use repeat some of the things he said, but yeah, everything from being the product of a human and a what does he say he capitulated with would have been I forget what it was, a copy
Garbage
machine
disposal or
or
something.
yeah, garbage disposal and
Yeah.
spits in his face. Yeah, so just certainly the opposite of our Prezox team and their treatment of these units.
Yeah, I mean there was certainly some humor there, but yeah, I mean it was a good episode. We kind of took it backwards meaningfully, which I think is fine because the stuff to really dig into is at the end. But
Mhm,
just to
mhm.
note, I think, in terms of the structure of the episode, it really worked well. Our friend Murderbot is really in trouble. Getting its memory wiped, getting the governor module restored. Meanwhile, these muckety mucks are telling the press oaks folk, and it's not your sec unit, it's our sec unit. It's like a tent. And things are looking pretty dire and all of that. And then it coming around to them successfully getting the injunction to keep Murderbot from being put in the acid bath, and then getting it freed from its getting it off the inventory list because they bought it or whatever. I guess they bought its contract or
That's right.
you
Bought
know.
out its certitude, it seems like. Yeah.
But I do think that, then the fact that Murderbot sets off on its own, another narrative possibility moving forward is, the corporation finds this, off inventory
Hmm.
unit and just tries to grab it up, because the corporation fundamentally views Murderbot as a thing, right? So if you're viewing Murderbot now as kind of unowned property, you know what I mean? Or along the lines of a freed slave or something, you know what I mean? There are various things the show could definitely play with narratively related to all of that.
Yeah, I certainly don't think the Corporation Rim is going to go away as a narrative choice in season two. So something like that is clearly plausible that it learns that Murderbot is no longer with Prezox, that it's gone off on its own and has no governor module, has nothing to stop it from telling or communicating with other, whether it be other units, other humans, that this is what has happened. This is my story, and they are afraid of it leading to some kind of, as you said, uprising or revolt. Or why don't we let other sec units have this level of freedom, and they want to end that? There's where Corporation Rim gets back involved.
Yeah, various ways it could go. Various ways. Well, I mean, and also like I don't know where Murderbot's going exactly. I don't know if Murderbot knows where it's going exactly,
Yeah.
but I get the impression that the I don't know galaxy that this story is in is like dominated by the corporation, and
Yeah.
then there are some like maybe there's some like little planets at the edges, like the one where the Preservation Alliance lives that are kind of outside of that control, but that's the picture they've sort of painted, So wherever Murderbot goes will probably remain under the kind of power of the corporation, I would think, but maybe not. Maybe there's somewhere else. We'll see.
I would think so too. Yeah.
Um, all right, I think that about does it. Anything else you want to hit on here? Talking about Murderbot?
That does it for me.
All right, well, that wraps our coverage on season one. And the show's been renewed for season two. Don't know when that will happen, but probably when it happens. Maybe we'll talk about this show again when it comes back. We'll see how things go and how far into the future that is, and all of that kind of stuff. But thanks as always for listening. Enjoy the podcast. Please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, press that thumbs up. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. You can follow TV Obsessive on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us, whatever platform you're on, basically. Check out TVObsessive.com. Find articles there on any number of TV shows, including Murderbot, which I wrote on weekly if you want to read my thoughts on each episode. Also, right now, we do have weekly recaps going on the new Dexter, which came out on Friday, Dexter Resurrection on Rick and Morty. Um, we've got a recap of the season premiere of Foundation, and that coverage should continue in the future. So check out TV Obsessive. There's all kinds of other stuff on there too. Hopefully you would enjoy reading. And as for the podcast, we'll be back with you next week.
All right. Looking forward to that, and we will see you then.